As she reached for her phone, her eyes widened in shock at the notification from her lawyer's office. Her hand trembled as she opened the message, scanning the document, her brain struggling to comprehend the words. No, no, no. This can't be happening, she muttered to herself, her voice shaking with disbelief. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes as she thought about her father's face, his smile, his kindness. He would never have wanted this for her. She felt like she had been punched in the gut, her breath knocked out of her. Stumbling to the kitchen, her legs shaking like jelly, she poured herself a glass of water to cool her nerves. Her hands shook as she raised the glass to her lips, spilling water on the counter. As she tried to calm down, she couldn't help but think about Michael's betrayal. First, he had accused her of cheating, and now this. It was like the whole world was against her. She felt like she was living in a nightmare, and she couldn't wake up. She quickly got dressed, her hands shaking as she buttoned her shirt. It was obvious she was panicking. She grabbed her purse and rushed out the door, her heart heavy with anxiety. Her life was turning into a mess. As she drove to her lawyer's office, a sense of dread built in her stomach. What was she going to do? Where would she start? When she arrived, she was greeted by her lawyer, who looked somber and sympathetic. His eyes were filled with regret, and she knew she was in trouble. Okay, scratch that. She was in huge trouble. Sophia, I'm so sorry. I know this is a shock to you, but you did sign the document, he said gently, his voice like a soft breeze on a summer day. She felt like she had been slapped in the face. What do you mean I signed it? I don't remember signing anything, she exclaimed, her voice rising like a crescendo. Tears streamed down her face as she thought about Victoria's smug face, her triumphant smile. Finally, this woman got rid of her. Her lawyer sighed, his eyes filled with regret. I know this is challenging to believe, but it's clearly your signature here. I think you were in a fragile state of mind when you signed it. I want you to be careful with Victoria and her girls, but from the looks of it, they beat you in the game. Victoria used your weakest moment to bring you down. And, well, Victoria took advantage of that. A deep wave of anger washed over her like a tsunami, crashing against the shore of her soul. That manipulative, evil woman. She set me up, didn't she? She accused, her voice venomous as she stood up from the chair furiously. The chair made a screeching sound on the floor that was annoying. She slammed her fist on the table, making the papers jump. Her lawyer nodded, his face grim. I'm afraid so, Sophia. She played on your vulnerability. And, well, now she has control over your inheritance. She felt like her world was crumbling around her like a house of cards. First, Michael betrayed her, and now this. She was starting to wonder if she would ever be able to escape Victoria's wrath. But she knew one thing for certain. They were all going to pay dearly as she left the lawyer's office. She felt like she was walking through a dark tunnel with no light at the end. She was trapped and didn't know how to escape. But she knew one thing for sure. She wouldn't give up. She would fight back, regardless of what it took. She drove her car to her stepmother's place at full speed, not caring about the consequences. Her heart was racing like a jackhammer, and flashback memories flushed her mind like a tidal wave. She remembered the happy moments with her dad, how he entrusted her with all of his property, and how he looked at her with pride and love. She had lost her mom when she was a baby, so she didn't have any memory of her. Little did he know, the woman he married would become a demon in disguise, hell-bent on ruining her life. On her way to the house, she could feel her anger and frustration building up like a volcano about to erupt. Her hands were shaking with rage as she held the steering wheel tightly. She screeched to a halt in front of Victoria's house, her tires squealing in protest. She didn't even bother to turn off the engine. She just jumped out of the car and stormed to the front door. She burst through the door, ready to face Victoria and demand answers. "Sophia, what are you doing here?" Victoria asked. Her voice calm and collected, but Sophia could see the hint of a sly smile on her face. She knew the exact reason why Sophia was there. "You know exactly why I'm here? Give me back my inheritance, you bitch. You tricked me." Sophia spat, her voice firm and determined. Her eyes blazing with fury, she was ready to pounce on her. Victoria shrugged, her smile growing wider, her eyes gleaming with malevolence. "You're just mad because you got caught, Sophia. You're just mad because you can't handle the truth." She took a step closer to Victoria, her fists clenched at her sides, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. "The truth? You call this the truth? You've been plotting against me, trying to take everything away from me. And now you're trying to rub it in my face. You're a sick, twisted woman, Victoria, and I'm going to make sure you pay for what you've done." She spat, but before she could continue, she heard a voice behind her. "Foolish little girl. For the fat fool, you never knew we planned it all. And I was just pretending to be mad at the whole situation," Michael said with a devilish smirk, his eyes gleaming with malevolence. She felt like she had been punched in the gut, the breath knocked out of her. Pretending to be mad. Planned it all? What did they mean? She listened closer, her heart racing with anticipation and fear, her palms sweating. "Yes, you're so gullible," Victoria sneered, her voice dripping with contempt, her eyes gleaming with triumph. "You never suspected a thing, and now you've lost everything. Ha! You're such a fool." Michael laughed, his voice echoing through the room, his eyes mocking her. "I can't believe you actually thought I loved you." His words felt like a slap in the face, leaving a stinging sensation. She felt a wave of nausea wash over her, her stomach churning with anxiety. Loved me? Michael was in on it too? He was pretending to be her boyfriend, pretending to care about her, all while plotting against her with Victoria. She felt like she was going to vomit. Just then, her step-twin sisters, Ariana and Adriana, walked into the room, their faces twisted with cruel smiles, their eyes gleaming with malice. She felt a chill run down her spine as they approached her. "Looks like you finally figured it out." "Ding, ding, ding," Ariana said, her voice dripping with sarcasm, her tone condescending. "The little fool." Adriana rolled her eyes, her gaze piercing through her like a dagger. "Yeah, it's about time," Adriana added, her eyes gleaming with malice, her voice cold and calculating. "You've been so blind to what's been going on, so naive." She felt a wave of anger wash over her, followed by a chill of fear, her heart racing, like it was about to burst out of her chest. Her stepsisters plotting against her. How could they do this to her? She felt like she was trapped in a nightmare, unable to wake up. "You're all in on it, aren't you?" She spat, her voice trembling with rage, her fists clenched at her sides. "You're all against me. You're all trying to destroy me." Victoria smiled, her eyes gleaming with triumph, her face twisted with cruelty. "Of course you're family. And in this family, we take care of each other by getting rid of you." Her words felt like a death sentence, leaving her breathless. Ariana and Adriana moved closer, their eyes cold and calculating, their faces expressionless. She knew she was in danger, her heart racing with fear. She knew she had to get out of there. Fast. She turned and ran, but they were too quick. They grabbed her, holding her in place, their grip like a vice. Victoria's face was inches from hers, her breath hot on her skin, her eyes blazing with fury. You'll never win. You're always going to be one step behind. Victoria hissed, her voice venomous, her words piercing through her like a knife. And soon, you'll be nothing but a memory. She felt like she was staring into the eyes of a snake, frozen in terror. Victoria walked up to her with a smirk, her eyes gleaming with triumph. Bam! She slapped her right on her face, the sound echoing through the room. She felt a stinging sensation, her cheek burning with pain and humiliation. She struggled and kicked, but they were too strong. Ariana and Adriana held her in place, their grip like a vice. Michael stood by, watching with a smirk, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction. You have always been a fool, Sophia. I despised you from the moment I lay my precious eyes on you. Disgusting little creature, Michael said, his voice dripping in hatred as he moved towards her. You never suspected a thing, and now you're paying the price. Victoria slapped her over and over again, each slap stinging her face, the pain radiating through her head. It felt like her head was about to fall off her neck, the agony overwhelming her senses. She felt her eyes watering, her vision blurring, but she refused to give Victoria the satisfaction of seeing her cry. Then, Victoria bent down to whisper in her ear, her hot breath sending chills down Sophia's spine, like a breeze on a winter night. I killed your father. I watched him die slowly, she hissed. Sophia's eyes widened in shock. At that point, she could swear her heart stopped beating. She felt like she had been punched in the gut, her breath knocked out of her. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. Victoria, her stepmother, had killed her father. It couldn't be true, right? The doctor said her dad died of a heart attack. But the look in Victoria's eyes, the smirk on her face told her it was. A surge of rage exploded within her, fueling a desperate strength. She kicked out violently, catching Ariana in the shin. The grip on her loosened momentarily, and Sophia seized the chance to wrench free. She stumbled backwards, panting, her heart pounding wildly.